What is the economics of a mountain, of wind, of rivers, of trees? Can you really own a mountain? Can you own the wind, the path of a river, the roots of a tree? We speak as if the earth belongs to us, but perhaps it's the other way around. We don't own the earth, we belong to it. That's not a metaphor, it's a truth that we've forgotten, buried under centuries of conquest, contracts and concrete. The idea of land as private property, something to be bought, sold, divided, inherited, this idea didn't exist in ancient times. The earth is sacred, not in an abstract or mystical sense, but in the most practical way imaginable. It means the earth is not just useful, it's meaningful. It has value that goes far beyond what we can extract from it. It means we treat the land with reverence, not entitlement. We tread lightly. We listen. We understand that some things are not to be owned, only honoured. That life on earth is not a resource, it's a relationship. But there's nothing sacred about claiming to own it. That idea was invented. This is the logic of enclosure, of conquest legalised and fenced, of sacred ground turned into assets. Before all of that, many cultures saw land not as a possession, but as relationship, not as property, but as kin, not as leverage, but as life. Land was lived with, not owned. But when land became property, everything changed, and not for the better. Exploitation took root, rent, displacement, eviction, homelessness, debt, agricultural monopolies, speculation, factory farming. Just think about that term, factory farming, turning the earth and the life it holds into a machine. The ground beneath our feet became a line item on a balance sheet. We stopped asking what the land needs and started asking what it's worth. In doing so, we reduced the earth to something to be owned, controlled, exploited. We made it serve us, as if it existed for our profit alone. It's the same logic that once justified slavery, turning life into property, reducing the sacred to the saleable, treating a living human being, human or otherwise, as a means to an end. When we turned land into property, we repeated that same violence, not just against people, but against the planet itself. What followed was not just ecological damage or spiritual loss, but a distorted economic model, one that treats land not as life, but as leverage, one where housing becomes an investment and food a product of industrial supply chains, not a right, not a relationship, not a commons. We like to think we're not just separate, but superior, the captains of the ship, the top of the pyramid, the ones steering the world. But we're not outside the pattern. We are the pattern. We're not just part of an ecosystem. We're part of a cosmic system of stars, of gravity, of time, of being, of becoming. And still we act as if we're in charge. But modern science tells a different story. Physics now recognises what ancient wisdom always intuited, that reality is not limited to what we can see or touch, that there are dimensions beyond this one, folded into the fabric of existence, unseen but real. This isn't mysticism, it's science. We're living in a multi-dimensional universe, spinning through space on a rock made of stardust, barely able to comprehend the scale of what we're part of. And yet, we draw property lines, build fences, write contracts. We act as if a legal deed is more real than the stars above us or the soil beneath our feet. That is the real illusion, not the unseen dimensions, but our imagined dominion over a world that we barely understand. It's sometimes said that we should be stewards of the earth, and that's a noble instinct. It speaks of care, responsibility and reverence. But even that word, well-meaning as it is, can quietly reinforce an old illusion, that the earth needs us to manage it, that we stand above rather than within. But the earth doesn't need our stewardship. It needs our humility. We're not caretakers of something separate. We're kin within something living, participants within something vast. What the earth asks of us is not management, but relationship, not control, but communion, not stewardship, but reciprocity. So what if we reimagined ownership altogether? What if land belonged to communities, not corporations? What if housing was a right, not an investment? What if we held the land in trust, not for profit, but for life? These aren't fantasies, they're already here. Community land trusts, indigenous governance, commons-based stewardship, regenerative farming rooted in belonging, not yield. These aren't radical experiments. They're older than capitalism, and they work. This isn't just a moral argument, it's an economic one. When we take land out of the speculative economy, we reduce inequality, we stabilise housing, we repair food systems, we rebuild local resilience. This is a different kind of economics, grounded in reciprocity, not extraction. This isn't about guilt, it's about remembering. Remembering that we're not lords of the earth, but family to it. Not its rulers, but its relatives. We cannot own the earth. We can only honour it and protect it for those who come next. Because when we treat land not as leverage, but as life, not as property, but as kin, we have the basis of a new economics, one rooted in relationship, not ownership, in reciprocity, not extraction, in care, not control. And when economics begins to heal, so do we. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.